Hello everybody, welcome back to another F1 Diecast review. Today is a pretty exciting day because yes, I've got two things in front of you today. Two mystery items. Now, a little while ago, I got a comment from someone who suggested that I do another Mini Champs and Spark comparison, but with the brand new 2022/2023 regulations, the new generation of cars, because it has been quite some time since I did that Mini Champs versus Spark comparison, and even then I didn't think that video was as good as the Mini Champs versus Barago comparison that I made like 3 years ago, I think. And yes, I haven't done one for the new generation of cars either, so I figured now is a great time to do it. I've got two cars here, and I figured I would open them live on camera because I've never done that before, and we're gonna get an authentic first impression, authentic experience of how these cars sort of come to me and how I feel about them when I open up the box. Before I jump fully into this video, though, I do like to hear other people's opinions on these F1 diecasts. Of course, your comments are the primary way that I do that, but I also do watch some other videos, and there is a video that I'd like you guys to watch if you are interested in seeing more comparisons between the two brands. It's Mini Champs versus Spark, but it's for 1/18 scale, and it's by the Car Cave. So I recommend you guys check that video out if you're interested in seeing more differences. Anyway, let's jump into this. I've had this car for a couple weeks, and I just got this one today as I'm filming this video. So we're gonna open the first one first. And you can see I bought this on eBay, but you can see here's the brand that I bought it from or whatever. So I might have to cut a little bit of this out just because I don't know what they're gonna have, like an invoice in here that says my address or whatever. So yeah. Haha, gotcha, bitch. Oh, yeah. It's that fucky tape. Oh, I hate this tape. I know it helps, but man, this tape that's got all the string shit in it, I hate that stuff. Here's the invoice, presumably. Don't need to look at that. Oh. Buried deep somewhere in all this paper is Spark. Spark, whoa, look at all this paper. Hi, Chris. Great job with the packaging. That's actually really good. Okay, here it is. Spark, Alfa Romeo, Valtteri, Bottas, the Sauber C43, Alfa Romeo Sauber, of course. I'll talk a little bit more later about why I've chosen Alfa Romeo. There also is a Barago version of this car. I don't have it here today. Maybe one day I'll buy that car and we'll do a real triple threat. But there is the first one, so that means that this one must be Mini Champs. And here's the brand. Also, I just got this on eBay, but I guess I got it from this seller, so yeah. Oh, yeah, there we go. Didn't use that annoying tape. Not as much going on here. Not a pile of paper, but we still got bubble wrap. It's still well protected. And here it is, the Mini Champs Alfa Romeo C43. But this time, it's Zhou Guanyu. Crazy how that works. Am I right, folks? So now we've got both of the cars, and I will look at them. Open these cars up real quickly. Now, the reason that I chose Alfa Romeo is because I keep struggling with this. It is a simple livery. It's a very, very simple livery, but it has a bright color, that being the red. That's a horrible sound. That's why I never do this on camera. It's got a simple livery, but deals with a bright color, that being red, and also black. And if you guys remember to my very old video, my last comparison, black was a color that I thought MINICHAMPS didn't really do well. I didn't really like how the black Mercedes MINICHAMPS car looked. I was a bigger fan of the Spark. So I was curious if that still reigns true. Now, before we dive into these cars, let's talk about packaging, though, because it's something I don't really talk about that much. This is actually incredibly easy. I should have opened this one first. You just slip it off. Which packaging do I like more, MINICHAMPS or Spark? And I have to admit, I don't really have a straight answer. I think I like the packaging of MINICHAMPS more. I like how you can just display it. I like how it's all uniform. Pretty much every MINICHAMPS I have the exact same type of box. I really like that. But Spark are pretty uniform too, you know? Once you remove this slipcase, all the Spark cars are the same as well. But I actually do also really like this slipcase. So it's kind of what you're looking for in a display case. If you're just looking for uniform, simple, the same for everybody, you can get that from both MINICHAMPS and Spark. For uniform and simple, I think MINICHAMPS is better. I think the Spark is a little boring. But if you want customized or like team specific, well, MINICHAMPS doesn't offer that, and Spark does. Alrighty, so I'm gonna take a look at these cars. I think there's still tape on these right here. Take a look at these cars up close, and then I'm gonna stop recording, and I'm gonna take some time to look over them in some specific areas. I do have some questions about these cars that I'm kind of going to be looking for. How's the paint look? Really particular. I think that's the most important thing. Is it like a shiny car? Is it glossy? Is it matte finish? You know, how does the carbon fiber look? Because I'm pretty sure, unlike the old black Mercedes, all this black is supposed to be carbon fiber. It's not supposed to be paint. So did they do a good job of that, or is it just kind of painted and ugly? Is it built correctly? You know, all this kind of stuff. So let's take the base or the top off of the Spark car. And I'm just looking at this through the camera right now, so I'm not really going to be able to see some of the things I'm looking for. The suspension, that's something I'm always really curious about. MINICHAMPS used to do that so well back in the day, and I think they've kind of faltered a bit. I think Spark has gotten a lot better recently. Just giving you guys the opportunity for your first hand or your first sort of thoughts. There is something I am seeing about the black that is striking, I'd say. But yeah, we'll get into that when we get into that. Here's the back. Here's the tire up close. I like the red on red, you know, the red wheel cover and the red soft tire. Also, you know, just the red car, that fits really well. All right, let's now turn our attention over to the MINICHAMPS, giving you guys an opportunity to think about these, and I will tell you what I think in a second. Can't really get a full 360 view on the MINICHAMPS because they've got the back cover board right here. This is the hard tire. This is from the Australian Grand Prix. The Valtteri Bottas is actually also from the Australian Grand Prix, so that is kind of a coincidence that I ended up buying for the same race, but two different cars. Something very, very interesting that I did not notice on the Spark, but I definitely noticed here. Here's the rear wing. I don't think I really showed a lot of that on the Spark. And I'll get up close to all these in a second, so don't you worry if I'm not trying to... All right, I will take a look at these cars. I'm going to take them off the base, and it's going to probably be a little bit. Actually, there's also a sticker on the MINICHAMPS. I'm surprised I didn't notice that. That's a little annoying. I'm going to take these cars off the base, and I'm going to give myself some time to look at them. So there's going to be a cut here. It'll probably be a little bit before I start recording, but for you, it will be just a few seconds. So, see ya. Well, here we are, everybody, back after quite a long time. It's probably been about a month since I filmed the last parts to this video. If you follow my Instagram, you can see I've owned these cars for quite some time now. And I wasn't thinking about these cars for the entire month, but I did want to give it some time. I did want to really let these cars sort of sink in, really think about what I thought about these cars, because unlike previous years, 2018, 2019, even as late as 2020, Spark and Minichamps were pretty different. There were a lot of differences between these cars. You could look at these cars and you could notice a lot of things that were different about them, but now these cars are nearly identical. There is very, very, very subtle differences, but for the most part, you're not really going to notice anything. There is one difference that's kind of major, I guess I could say, but I'll save that for a little bit later in the video. Now, there are 3 areas that I would like to take a look at for this comparison. The first category being the details. So things like winglets and suspension pieces, and how do the tires look? Do these cars feature all the details that create downforce? Do they look authentically how they would look on track from a detail perspective? The second thing that I would like to look at is the painting. So the colors. Do the colors match what the car looks like on track? Which one does it better? Which one does it worse? Are there any blemishes or any weird blurry bits? How do the decals look? All that stuff like that. And for the third thing, probably the most important one, these cars can look as great as they could possibly look, but it doesn't matter, because if the price sucks, you'll buy the cheaper one, probably. Maybe I'm wrong, but if it's a bad price, you won't buy it. I'm guessing. That's just what I'm guessing. It's actually been so long since I filmed the first part of this video that I don't remember if I said I was going to take these cars off the bases. I guess I already do. I usually do, so I might as well, right? Now, even though I said price was the most important, I'm actually going to talk about it last, because I think it's the least fun thing to talk about when it comes to these F1 diecasts. So let's start with where I started, with the detail. The most important thing for many diecast and model buyers, the details. How accurate are these cars? The nitty-gritty, the rivet counters. We all know we love to see as much detail on these cars as we possibly can get. Now, I've done my best to take a lot of pictures in my light box. Obviously, I have a new light here as well, so hopefully we'll be able to see everything. So I'm going to flash between some pictures and some video. Hopefully, we're going to be able to see everything that we can possibly see on these cars. In terms of broad strokes, in terms of big, major, obvious details, these cars are pretty much identical. Back in the day, we used to have, there'd be like winglets on the Spark. I remember the major one that I talk about a lot. There was a 2017 or 2018 Sauber Spark that I got that didn't have like the halo winglet. It just kind of had a bump where it was supposed to be. That was not super good. There's none of that on any of these cars. All of the antennas are present. The mirrors are all the same. All the winglets are the same. The details at first glance are pretty much identical. It's not until you really start looking close at these cars that you start to see anything different. So I'm going to show you, here's the Spark car. The Valtteri Bottas is a Spark car, and I'm going to flash up the picture of the MINICHAMPS, the Zhou Guanyu. Actually, I'll just also show you right here. Tell me if you can see the difference, because this is how granular we have to get before we start to find any differences. Do you see it? I reckon you don't. Maybe you do if you've watched my videos before. I do kind of say it. I actually talked about it in this video already. The rivet counters. Yes, so you can see the little dimples, the little dots by the panels, on the panels. Those, they're probably not rivet detailing. They're probably screws. But the Spark has these details. The Spark has these details, and the Mini Champs does not. You would never ever notice that upon first viewing. You likely wouldn't. Maybe you would. But it took me a while before I even noticed that was on there or not on there in the Mini Champs case. And so that's, to me, that's what kind of defines the detail of these cars. They are both so good. Both of them are good enough to the point that you probably would be okay. You'd be satisfied with them. But the Spark, as they always seem to do, go the extra mile in terms of the detail. I think the front wings as well are kind of the same. I like both of them, but the Spark really does it. I think the brackets, the silver brackets to me on the Spark just look to me a little bit more like actual silver brackets. And on the Mini Champs, they look just kind of like bumps that they painted silver. Like, I know we're picking hairs here. We're poking at hairs. We're pulling hairs. I don't even know if that's the fucking terminology, but it's really subtle. Another difference, the rear end of this car. I just think the Spark or the Mini Champs just doesn't look that good, actually. This would probably be the one area where I think the Spark just looks way better. So it's got the exhaust detail. It's silver, and it's also got the light. It's silver above here. And then it's just not really detailed at all on the Mini Champs, which is disappointing. But yeah, I mean, it's just not a whole lot going on here. It's not painted silver. The exhaust pipe is just black. There's another detail that's you would never notice these things, I don't think. But this little piece right here it is on the Mini Champs. You would never notice this stuff. You would never notice this kind of stuff, I feel like. I don't know. It's painted silver on the Spark. From a broad stroke, from a perspective, if you were just looking at these cars for a couple seconds, you'd say they look identical, but they're not quite identical. It's just kind of crazy how detailed the Spark is, how granular the details are with the Spark. It's kind of crazy to see how far these two diecast manufacturers have come. There is not a huge difference. In terms of detail, I do think the Spark is better. I'll give the point to the Spark. I'm not really doing a point system, but really, it's up to preference. In terms of detail, it's up to preference. Just to do a quick recap of certain areas of cars that I like better. I think the front wing on the Spark looks better. I think the tires on the Mini Champs look better than the Spark car. I have always felt that. I've always thought the Mini Champs are a bit brighter. I guess it's kind of more color related, but I just think the Mini Champs tires are better detailed. The suspension, I talk a lot about the suspension. Both of them aren't the best I've ever seen. The Spark, I think, is better, though. It looks a little bit more accurate. The Spark is a bit better, though. I think it's thinner. I think it's more accurate to what the wishbones and the drivetrains and the drive shafts would actually look like. However, the rear wing, on the other hand, I actually think it looks better on the Mini Champs. The rear wing is a bit of a weird plate. The rear wing on these 2022 era cars just look kind of weird. I feel like a lot of the diecasts they look kind of cheap on. The Spark looks really glossy and greasy, and it looks a little cheap, but I think it looks really good on the Mini Champs. Now, let's talk about colors. We've gone on about the detail, but the other important thing is the color. Does it look accurate to what we see on track? Now, in terms of the color red, I mean, if you can see a difference in the color red, then bravo. But I think you could stare at both of these cars for 100 hours, 1,000 hours. You'd never be able to say, oh, the red on the Spark looks better than the red on the Mini Champs. It's obvious. To me, it's just not obvious. Okay? Both of them look good. It's kind of like the detail. You can't really go wrong with either of them in terms of the color red. However, it's kind of the color black on this car that really is interesting to me. In order to really drive this point home, I need to tell you guys about the 2023 F1 cars. The real-life cars, not these stupid little diecasts, the real cars. On pretty much every single real 2023 car, there are loads of exposed carbon fiber areas that are pretty much just completely black. It's not painted black, it's literally unpainted carbon fiber. We also saw that on the Fernando Alonso. Here it is. I should take this off like with the other ones. This whole strip right here is unpainted carbon fiber, and you can kind of see that grayish sort of detail. So that's pretty much on that's literally on every single F1 car last season and this season to some extent. The Barago cars, they don't really do that detail super well. It's just black. It doesn't have any carbon fiber detail whatsoever. I think this would be unpainted carbon fiber on the real F1 car. Now, that's where the difference of this lies, and which one you like better is really going to be down to personal preference. Each diecast has a different interpretation of that. The Spark is black. You can see it's got like a carbon fiber sort of stripy pattern, and it does match with the carbon fiber on the other parts of the diecast, at least in some capacity. But it is black, and I think this is kind of what you think the car looks like when you watch it on TV from afar away. You don't really see the carbon fiber detail. You just sort of see, oh, it's red and it's black. But it is carbon fiber, and it definitely has a pattern on it indicating, hey, it's not just black paint, it's carbon fiber. The MINICHAMPS, on the other hand, it looks gray. When you first look at this car, it looks gray. When I opened this up, I thought it was gray. I thought it was a major painting failure, actually. But it is actually carbon fiber. It is more detailed. I think it is detailed more accurately to what carbon fiber really looks like. And this is the biggest difference to me on these two cars, is the way this specific area of the car is painted, quote unquote. The MINICHAMPS looks like real carbon fiber. It's got the same pattern. That's what carbon fiber actually looks like. And the Spark is black, and it has a carbon fiber pattern, but it's not how carbon fiber looks in real life, at least I think. And I actually also just noticed that the Spark has this little painting blemish here. I'm actually just noticing that for the first time ever. I'll get a better picture of it, but you can see they haven't quite applied the red correctly, or perhaps it's the other way around. They haven't applied the carbon fiber correctly. I think that the MINICHAMPS looks better in terms of painting, because that's how carbon fiber actually looks. At first, it was a bit jarring because it looked kind of gray, but I think it looks more accurate. It's really, really cool to see how granular, I've used that word a lot, how detailed the carbon fiber is. It looks authentic. It looks real, like an actual 1/43 scale carbon fiber piece. And so the Spark car definitely doesn't look bad. It's how I thought the car looked. I thought it was just red and black. But in actuality, I think if you stood right up next to the real Alfa Romeo The real Alfa Romeo C43, you would see that this is carbon fiber, and that is how it looks. I think the Spark car, ironically enough, I think the carbon fiber on the wishbones and the winglets and the floor look better. But in terms of this, the monocoque area, the area around the drivers, I think the MINICHAMPS looks better. And so for painting, for details, I'm going to give it to MINICHAMPS. Also the tires, which I already mentioned, the tires are just brighter. The MINICHAMP tires always look better, in my opinion. Whoo-wee. This has got to be the longest video I've made in a long time. Okay, let's talk about price now. All that shit I just said about details, painting, blah, 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 none of that matters if the price is bad. And so, I don't know exactly what the recommended price on these cars is nowadays. Back in the day, I say back in the day like it was a long time ago, a couple years ago, Spark was $80, MINICHAMPS was $120. But obviously, since the pandemic, since COVID, prices have gone up quite a bit. And so MINICHAMPS for a long time, I just could not find them for a good price at all. And I wasn't going to pay $140 for a MINICHAMPS. And Spark cars sort of started going up near the $100 bracket. Now, I don't really care what anybody says. No matter what you think, these cars look similar enough that there should not be like a $40 difference in price. I don't care if it was made in Germany or made in China or made in whatever. There is not a $40 difference in details and painting. There's just not anymore, at least. Maybe back in the day you could make that argument, but certainly not anymore. I got these cars on eBay for less than $100 each of them. I feel like the prices are sort of starting to meet in the middle. Spark might be going up a little bit, but MINICHAMPS is sort of coming down, and I think that's kind of the perfect way. That's the way it should be. I think if Spark market themselves as a detail-oriented diecast, a car that really gets the nitty-gritty details like rivets and windshields, even though that's one windshield, rivets and all that stuff for $100, and then MINICHAMPS market themselves, oh, we get the colors right, we get the paint right, we get all that stuff. It's a bright-looking car, and they're both $100, and you sort of just get to pick which specialty kind of diecast you're looking for. If you'd rather get details for $100, you buy the Spark. If you'd rather get painting for $100, you get the MINICHAMPS. That's the way that I see. That's what I think is a good plan. I'm sure that these are technically rivals, so they're probably not going to do that. But I don't know. That's what I would do. In terms of price, I think the Spark is still the best one to get because it's the lower price and you're still getting good detail and good enough painting. If I didn't buy the MINICHAMPS, I never would have thought the Spark would look weird with the black paint or whatever. So I still think in terms of price point, the lower one is always going to win as long as it doesn't compromise the quality, which it doesn't. So for me, it's Spark wins the price, but obviously I don't know which is actually, the MSRP or the retail price, the suggested retail price. I don't know which one really is lower. So yeah, I'm going to give the point to Spark for price. I just realized I never showed the floor. There's not much going on here. There's the fake board. I don't even think the Spark has the board anymore. Nope. So yeah, if you're buying a diecast for the board, then don't buy Spark because it's fucking gone. All right, folks. It's got to be the longest video I've produced in quite some time. The ultimate comparison, the 2024 Spark versus MINICHAMPS. My overall recommendation will still be Spark as it stands, but MINICHAMPS is not bad. In this specific case, this is just one diecast, obviously. I can't really make a broad, Spark is better or MINICHAMPS is better just based off one diecast, but based off this Alfa Romeo, I do think Spark is better. And actually, I've got one thing left to say. I've had a lot of problems recently with MINICHAMPS being broken or not sitting correctly, but the Spark car is actually the car that came out of the box broken, or at least not built correctly. Maybe you've seen it, but this rear wheel right here is actually not put on correctly. It's crooked. I don't know the best way. This is the best way for me to show it. You can see it's crooked. It's supposed to be even with this wheel right here. So this one right here is crooked. It's not really loose or anything. It's just not built right. Here's the back of the MINICHAMPS. You can see it's even. And yeah, so it took me a while to notice it, but for MINICHAMPS fans out there who have been brutalized over the past couple videos because my MINICHAMPS keep coming broken, there's your victory. The Spark fucked it up this time. It's not hugely noticeable. It's not like the Fernando Alonso, but yeah, it did come broken, which is very, very bad. Very, very bad. But it's not too noticeable. I'm out of things to say for this video. I've been talking for a long time. This video is super long. So thank you guys for watching. And let me know what else you would like to see. Is there any details that you noticed that I didn't? And what are your guys' thoughts? Which one looks better? Let me know in the comments below, and I will see you in the next video. See ya!